It's election season, which means it's also completely coincidentally, I'm sure, the season where every pastor in America suddenly has very specific opinions about who Jesus would vote for. Spoiler alert, it's always whoever they already voted for. Funny how that works. And social media, God bless social media, has turned your ballot into a moral exam. Vote wrong, and apparently you're not just a bad citizen. You're a bad Christian. Maybe not even saved. The stakes are high, people. Meanwhile, the actual Bible, that book everyone is holding while they say all of this, has been sitting there for 2,000 years with a completely different message that apparently nobody has time to read anymore. So let's read it together right now, because somebody has to. And today that somebody is me. Here's where we are in 2026. American evangelical Christians vote as a political bloc more reliably than almost any other demographic in the country, more predictable than union members, more consistent than any other religious group anywhere, which is impressive, just not in the way the Great Commission intended. And before the progressives in the back start feeling smug, stop. Because progressive Christians do the exact same thing from the other direction. Same manipulation, different bumper sticker. Both sides have decided the Bible is basically a really old political platform that just happens to agree with everything they already believed. Which raises an interesting question. What if, and stay with me here, but what if the Bible actually disagrees with both of you? Let's find out, together, right now. Romans 13, the most politically abused verse in the entire Bible. Let's talk about it. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. Now, every government official from Constantine to your local school board member has used this verse to demand Christian compliance. It's been used to justify slavery, segregation, authoritarianism. It's had a busy 2,000 years. Here's what they always forget to mention. Paul wrote this under Nero, the man who used Christians as human torches to light his garden parties, that Nero. Paul wasn't saying Nero was God's anointed leader. He was saying, even under the literal worst government imaginable, Christians maintain their witness through how they live, not through political power. That is a completely different sermon than what most people are preaching from this verse. Completely different. Now Matthew 22, because Jesus himself got asked a political gotcha question. And honestly, his answer is still the best political response in recorded history. The Pharisees tried to trap him. Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Pick a side, Jesus. Rome or Israel? Let's go. And Jesus, who was constitutionally incapable of being trapped, said, show me the coin. They showed him a denarius. He said, whose face is on it? They said, Caesar's. And he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. The crowd was stunned. Both sides wanted him to fail, and he just walked right through the middle. That answer didn't satisfy either political side then. And the real biblical answer to how Christians should vote will not satisfy either political side now. Jesus refused to be recruited by any political movement. He expects the same from us. Sorry. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or more accurately, the elephant and the donkey in the room. Because somewhere along the way, American Christianity produced a brand new spiritual gift. The gift of prophecy. Specifically prophecy that always happens to perfectly align with your existing political beliefs. Isn't that convenient? We have prophets declaring Trump is Cyrus. We have progressive theologians declaring Jesus was basically a democratic socialist. We have pastors on both sides telling their congregations that God himself has a party affiliation. And the people in the pews, God bless them, are eating it up. Because it feels so much better to believe God is on your side than to do the hard work of actually reading what God said. Here's the reality check. In Scripture, every single time God showed up politically, he made both sides uncomfortable. Every single time. So if your theology only makes one side uncomfortable, you might want to check your sources. So if Romans 13 isn't a blank political check and Matthew 22 isn't an endorsement, what is the actual biblical standard? Micah 6:8, one verse, 3 requirements. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. That's it. Not vote for the candidate who says Merry Christmas. Not vote for the candidate with the best climate policy. Not vote for whoever your pastor is subtly implying you should vote for. Justice, mercy, humility. Now here's the uncomfortable question. When you stand in that voting booth, are you running your decision through that filter? Or are you running it through the filter your political tribe gave you? Because those two filters produce very different votes. Take your time with that one. Here's what I actually need you to hear, and I'm going to say it as directly as I can. Your vote is not your witness. Your character is your witness. The early church didn't change Rome through political power. They had zero political power. They were slaves, foreigners, women, outcasts. They changed the most powerful empire on earth through how they lived, how they loved, how they served, how they died for what they believed. 300 years later, Rome had converted. Not because Christians won an election, because Christians looked different from everyone else. And I want to be really specific about what I mean by that. When your non-Christian neighbor looks at you during election season, what do they see? Do they see someone whose faith is so solid and secure that politics can't shake it? Or do they see someone who is just as anxious, just as angry, and just as tribal as everybody else, just with Bible verses attached, because that second version is not a witness. That's just politics with better PR. The early church had nothing. No votes, no power, no representation. And they turned the world upside down. We have everything they didn't have, and we're losing ground every single year. Something is wrong. And it's not the election results. And right now, the fastest growing demographic in America is people leaving the church. And researchers keep finding the same reason. The church looks exactly like the political culture around it. We stop looking different. And when you stop looking different, you stop being compelling. That is the real crisis, not who wins in November. So, if Romans 13 isn't a blank political check and Matthew 22 isn't an endorsement, what is the actual biblical standard? Here's what biblical political discernment actually looks like. First, pray before you research, not after, before. Ask God to show you truth, even if it challenges what you already believe. That prayer alone will change how you read everything. Second, read the actual policy, not the meme, not the headline, not what your favorite commentator said about it, the actual policy. Christians are called to be people of truth. That starts with knowing what you're actually talking about. Third, ask who benefits and who gets hurt. Every policy has winners and losers. Biblical justice requires you to care about the losers, especially when they don't look like you. Fourth, hold your political opinions loosely. You are not your party. Your identity is not your vote. If someone disagreeing with your politics feels like a personal attack, that's a sign politics has taken up space in your identity that belongs to God. That's it. 4 steps. None of them require you to vote for a specific party. All of them require you to actually think. You're welcome. So, how should Christians vote? Vote your conscience, informed by Scripture, filtered through justice, mercy, and humility. Not fear, not guilt, not tribal loyalty, not because your pastor made it weird. And then after you vote, remember your real assignment doesn't happen in a voting booth. It happens in your neighborhood, your workplace, your family, your church. That's where your witness actually lives. Now I want to hear from you. What's the hardest part of separating your faith from your politics? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe for a new biblical reality check every week. Share this with someone who needs to hear it before they let someone else tell them how God votes. I'm Cassidy for Trump 2028 Bible, where Scripture answers the internet. See you next time.